All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. It was only a couple days ago that I made this SoundHound and BBAI video, and clearly good things have happened. All right, so I'm gonna go over the yesterday on both because again, I'm a little surprised SoundHound delivered as well. All right, if you watch the video, I liked BBAI a little more the day after just because of these lower indicators. And again, it's something I'll talk about. But SoundHound, the main thing I said was if volume comes, no one's going to care about a high RSI. And lo and behold, volume came, right? So interesting doji, obviously a more interesting day after. But yeah, clearly some pretty good lines that none of this is financial advice, but hey, maybe you use to your advantage. I don't know, right? So excited to talk about these two. Clearly, earnings is going to be the big story for SoundHound, and BBAI again. Follow the leader. All right, what SoundHound does, I can only imagine BBAI will follow. All right, so before we go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can please subscribe to this channel, share this video online with your friends, comment good or bad. Look, anything you can do helps me so much with these YouTube algorithms, especially if you can share this video. One little click does an amazing thing, all right? So let's take a look at SoundHound. And okay, I really want to take a zoom out real quick, all right? Because look, obviously SoundHound ended up running on some massive news that was very much specific to the stock, all right? And when that happens, yeah, there's going to be how am I trying to phrase this? When the news is so good about a specific stock, it almost doesn't matter what else is happening in the world. Like if the indices are going down, but something crushes earnings or something closes a massive deal or something gets bought out or makes an amazing acquisition, the news of the specific stock is just going to literally supersede anything around it, right? And I think it's fair to say that's what we've seen with SoundHound, right? Obviously a number of days just holding after the news itself actually dropped on the 15th. A beautiful confirmation and then a little bit more driven on volume. I'll get to that shortly, right? The point for today, all right, I think you got to take a step back and look at what's going on. Today, the Russell came down. I can't see the Russell ETF, the Russell 2000 itself, but this ETF is very much a mirror of it, right? And today we come down. Today was an uncomfortable doji. Volume really hasn't been there the last couple days. And hey, in a lot of ways, look at that. The Russell itself also made a beautiful gap up yesterday. Maybe that was SoundHound driven, right? I don't want to make some silly assumptions that this was number one of 2000, but SoundHound really has been the juggernaut of the last few, right? But yeah, I think that this drop on the Russell, as well as CompQ, NASDAQ, as well as this drop on the NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ hasn't been as pretty the last couple of days as on the Russell, right? And I always say technology is very much connected to NASDAQ. And when I always say, it's not like everyone says that, right? But you got to know what NASDAQ's doing if you're trading a tech stock, right? And that ultimately is what SoundHound is. So again, as amazing as the news was, again, NVDA, BlackRock, someone else mentioned SoftBank. I mean, when you're getting money from all these people, it makes sense, right? I stressed on this day, right? Because I believe I made my video on Monday. Today's Wednesday, yeah, a couple days ago. If you look in the box over here, you can see the RSI is at 92.3. All right. And the one thing I talked about was, look, that's a really high RSI. 80 is a really high RSI, let alone mid 80s, high 80s, a low 90 like we just saw on this one, right? So my worry was the high RSI was going to need to cool down, but if more volume comes, it should not matter. Because at the end of the day, this looks good, this looks good, this looks good. This is just one thing saying no out of the four, right? So volume did obviously come. Not only did it do better than the day before, it actually, excuse me, little hiccup. It pushed the best day, right? This day was 297 million. This day right here was 299 million, actually more than this one, right? So again, volume is king. Volume will supersede a crazy high RSI. It will, all right? If people are buying, volume is queen for my ladies out there. I can't believe I forgot to say that. But yeah, if people talk about holding, all right, and you know, I'm gonna hold, I'm gonna diamond hand, this, that, listen, no one cares about a bunch of people holding. Stocks need buying to go, right? And yeah, I think this is a beautiful, beautiful example of that, all right? I always say this, and I obviously was saying this for 6 days in a row, maybe, yeah, 6 days in a row, right? There is no single pattern that I care about. There is no single candle. Whoop, I said that weird. There's only one single candle that I care about, and it's the doji. All right. The doji screams uncertainty. Yes, it's really easy to look at this plus 19 day. Yes, it's really easy to focus on the gap up. To me, I see uncertainty. All right, let's take a look in the box over there. This opens, oh, sorry, I'm clicking the wrong place because it's a filled in green. This opens at 712, all right? It goes as high as almost $8, actually going over my line, all right? It goes as low as 650, actually going under my line. It then basically closes roughly where it opened, and it actually closed under where it opened, all right? That screams uncertainty. That supersedes the gap up by a lot, okay? And this right here, this is not a doji by any means, right? There's no little wick up. I like that, like kind of even up and down, right? That I would say most of these ones have. This, however, is not a really confident or affirmative candle, all right? I think I would have expected it to come down maybe a little closer to like this 580 line, maybe. I also would have expected a couple more people to sell before earnings comes out, which obviously I'm going to talk about in a second, right? But this is a little bit of a stronger candle than I would have expected the day after that doji. Again, a -8, almost 8 day is not a good thing, right? No one wants to see 8% of the money go down the toilet, right? You do that 10 times in a row and you're crying pretty quickly, right? So I'm not trying to undermine that number, but that's not as scary as I expected. I think that's the easy takeaway. Now look, I like it when I'm coming down to these lower indicators real quick. I like it when we have green over red on both the MACD and the RSI. I can see, and if I click into it, I'm sure we'll see it over there. Yeah, you can see it. The RSI is at 85. The red line in that is at 88. So clearly red is over green here. I don't know how much I'm worrying just yet. I think tomorrow will be pretty telling, all right? One thing I always talk about, and this happens on any stock, this is not SoundHound specific. Look, if you go to, that's not a good example because let me find a better one. All right, this is a decent one. You go really high from the 8, you then come to the 8 and hopefully go away, right? It's kind of the opposite of this. You go away, you come to it, you go away, you come to it, right? We have now gone away from the 8. Look, you can even see it here. We went away from the 8, took a bunch of dojis in a row, but we then end up coming to the 8 before taking off again. We might be coming back down to or towards the 8, right? So it would make sense to me that, like I said, we would either come down to this 580 or 516, right? Earnings are going to make all of my little colorful lines mean nothing, all right? And I think, and it's not even I think, what always matters with earnings is the forward guidance, all right? And I'm not exactly sure what I'm expecting in terms of forward guidance, but I think what I would want to basically hear them say is, look, by getting these investments, we're going to do A, B, C, X, Y, and Z with that money, right? I want to know what they're going to do with the money that they're now getting from these outside investments that we're all so excited about, and what took us from $2 to 6 today, 8 at some point, basically, right? I think the next thing I'm gonna want to hear is, I think, and I'm making assumptions, right? But I would want them to basically say, look, with these partnerships, NVIDIA specifically, right? I'm going to get better chips. I'm going to get better AI abilities. I'm going to get the technology that's in my pipeline sooner, better, faster, or cheaper than the competition, so that I can just deliver on promise after promise after promise that all these longs have been here for, and all these longs keep telling me this is a great company, right? So, yeah, that's what I think I'm looking for. Now, I always say this, there is a real good chance that things are going to look great and one random thing is not going to look good. Do I have it on my phone? If it's going to take too long, I'm going to not, boom, I have it. I was looking at a Reuters article on SoundHound earnings expectations. You're always going to see this, right? And they're expected to post a loss of 6 cents a share, all right? EPS, earnings per share, is a really critical line in my eyes. I don't really know what the expectation is, but that's at least something I'm seeing. Look, they're expecting to report an 86% increase in revenue to almost 18 million from 9 million and a half last year. That's huge, right? And this and that. End of the day, there's a market expectation for some numbers. There's going to be the actuals that SoundHound delivers. And for real, if 4 out of the 5, if 9 out of the 10 are right, but 1 is bad, I've seen the craziest reactions. That's why I always say, look, earnings are scary. All right, earnings are scary. They can do whatever they want. You can see this, I almost cursed. You can see the dumbest earnings get green candles, and real good ones get red, right? So, as much as I want to say I think that this is going to come to the 8 and this and that, look, I think one of two things is going to happen, and I got to zoom out for this. Either earnings are amazing and we come back to this 780, if not maybe a little bit higher, or earnings are not amazing and we come back to this 480, if not maybe 4. Okay, I do not think we're going to go any lower than that 316 I was worried about only a week ago, right? I don't think we're going to be coming down to the 200 moving average. And I think ultimately what I kind of got to think is, look, NVIDIA's earnings were good. NVIDIA made it seem like AI is going to be not bad, right? So I think there's a little bit of a backhanded confidence going in. But again, earnings reactions have absolutely nothing to do with and are so unpredictable that my expectations, my review of their earnings, my opinions of the earnings means nothing. You know what I mean? So this was amazing trading. This was next level volume, all right? The drop once again has us at 100 million. We've been here before. We've literally been here before. 300 pop, 100 drop, down to a trickle before, we got saved by the moving averages, right? We've made the drop. I don't think we're going to do the same thing. I think we're going to get an earnings reaction, and it's either going to be a really good one or a really bad one, almost irrelevant of what happens with the volume, all right? One more time. I think 480 or 4. I think 780 or a little higher. None of it kind of has to do with the lines, all right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Let's come into BBAI. And I hope you did well. None of this is financial advice, but man, smashed my line and ultimately comes back to my line today, right? So really quickly, if you can please subscribe, please share. Oh man, that little share click does such wonders for these algorithms, all right? So, Crazy day in BBAI, all right? The first thing I want to say is, do I believe that this was justified? Do I believe this and that? No, not at all, all right? No offense to the BBAI long and faithful. To me, this was completely driven by SoundHound and really having better technical setups than SoundHound. Excuse me, something got caught in my throat, all right? Again, I use I don't want to call it a more sophisticated, all right? This chart reader stack is simple but deadly, all right? I use something a little bit more, and yeah, there were a little bit more things that were telling me good, right? But even just looking at 2 days ago, Monday, right? Because I made my video on Monday saying I believe Tuesday is going to be good. Tuesday brings nearly 40%, right? On Monday, let's take a look at the box over there, all right? First things first, you can see the high of the day, the third line up there, was the close of the day. It was 249. Literally, people were buying and 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 buying. And then the market was like, dude, that's it. No more buying. Dude, that's it. My girls, go back home. No one can buy. Come back tomorrow. When the high of the day is the close, oh man, that screams a lot of strength, all right? From there, let's come down a little bit more. MACD, the green line, was positive. Yeah, it was a very baby positive, but look, let's just kind of look here. It was less the number, and it was more the fact that we had a nice little divergence. It made me say, you know what, I think it might want more, and yeah, obviously it did, right? Let's keep coming down. The RSI was 70, all right? Let's take a look at this right here. 70 still has room to go up. I don't normally scream the alarm or ring the alarm until 80, right? So there was plenty of room to go from 70 to 80. Where did it actually end up going? To 77, right? So there was room to run down here. There was a positive MACD that looked like it was diverging, and there was reason to believe that more volume would come because we got over all 5 moving averages, all right? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a simple stack, but when all 4 are looking good, you can kind of make some assumptions, and then boom, all of a sudden you get a 38% return, right? I use the word assumption because look, that's what this is. This is not a crystal ball. Like, my 5 lines here are not the best in the world. Like, these are not the best lower indicator. Again, this is a good, simple, deadly stack, right? And this is what you get from that, okay? I from there, right now, let's kind of talk about the Tuesday ending that brought us to today, all right? First and foremost, you got to look at SoundHound, right? SoundHound had a crazy doji. SoundHound kind of signals, all right, we'll find out something tomorrow, right? So though BBAI did once again drop a pretty big confident number, 40% almost, right? Like, that's a big, strong, bullish candle. If you're following the leader, you better look at the leader and you better see, oh my, yesterday we had the same big candle. Today we didn't, all right? So hopefully you did that, okay? Second thing from there, look, again, I basically said it. I start to ring the alarm on the RSI when it's around 80. 77 is really close to 80. Okay, from there we zoom out. Let's just zoom out. Let's just zoom out, right? I'm going to just draw a quick line around, look, 78, okay? We've only been over that line, what, once, twice, 3, 4 times, maybe 5, 6, 7 times, and none of these ones even count because that was different. Like, we've really only been over 78 a couple times in the stock history, right? Otherwise, it's a wall, it's a wall, it's a wall, it's a wall, it's right, like, so it made sense that that 77, though it wasn't 80, yeah, it was a known high RSI for this stock, all right? I love the fact that the 314 line saved it, okay? Less to brag about how good a line that is, because you know that's not my game. I'm glad we didn't lose 50% of this day. I'm glad we didn't eat more than half of it. We kind of only ate like a third of it, right? I think we lost about 33, but we basically kept 2/3 of it, okay? Also, again, what was a resistance line, right? I drew this as a resistance when we were down here. We break it and it looks like it holds as support, okay? Again, we are following the leader and SoundHound has earnings. If you fast forwarded to this part, I ended the SoundHound part by basically saying, look, earnings is going to dictate its own thing regardless of the technicals, and I think that's the same thing for BBAI. All right, I think this will either continue and push. Oh man, this thing either runs to over 4, another 33% gain, or this might slap down to here, to 220. I don't know if the 8 moving average is going to be enough to hold it. Obviously, we broke and confirm, right? So don't get me wrong, but I'm making some assumptions that if SoundHound earnings don't do well, this is going to do even worse. And I think that's going to mean losing the 8 and starting to head down towards the 20. All right. Nonetheless, this was beautiful. I hope you banked. Watch SoundHound because, again, outside of my theory on the good technicals, if SoundHound went down, this would have went down too. You know what I mean? So know what you're trading and trade what you know. All right. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Even if you disagree, oh, I appreciate you so much.